People can't tell what your real position is on the topic of the meeting. Another term to keep in mind is strategic silence. What that looks like is, instead of a fast-paced cadence of a discussion, slow it down, put pauses in, and stretch that out a little, which is not easy to do. It can be uncomfortable. When you jump in on all these low-level routine questions by giving a low-level routine answer, what you're doing is you're diluting your influence on the conversation. Give the bulk of the conversation back to the group and don't over-participate. And when you ask somebody for their input, you're showing them respect. Don't fill pauses. You're going to have to get used to that. Number 4, challenge without undermining. A lot of us ask ourselves, why do we have so many meetings? When what we should really be asking ourselves is, why do we have so many bad meetings? In this video, I'm going to show you how to go from being a casual attendee to an active, productive participant. Hi, I'm Mike Targus, retired Marine leadership coach, founder of Center Desk Leadership Coaching. Let's get into it. Here's how you develop a contribution strategy when you attend meetings. First thing you need to think about is restraining your input. And this might sound a little counterintuitive. How can meetings be good if there's less participation? Here's how. Listen first and speak second. But you must really listen. Active listening. Active listening is when you're not just listening to what people are saying, but you're trying to understand why they're saying it in the first place. You want to understand what the speaker means when they talk. And you're not going to do this unless you restrain your urge to quickly reply to anything that's said. Pay attention, have empathy for who's talking, especially if you disagree with them. You have to reflect on what you're hearing. Do that instead of filling empty space. Quiet is needed. Quiet is good. We need quiet to process what we're hearing. But simply reacting to what you hear or formulating your response while somebody else is speaking is the opposite of that. And pay attention to this. You can't formulate a response and listen to what people are saying. We need a few seconds to process what we're hearing. You've seen these people. Their body starts moving, their eyes come off you, and you can just sense that they can't wait to say what they want to next. So don't be like that. Be different. You'll get your chance. Wait for the pause and then contribute something meaningful, something that brings what's already been said together. Don't feel the need to reply or answer every question that's out there. You have to resist this at all costs, because 2 things happen when you do this. Number 1 is people can't tell what your real position is on the topic of the meeting. What you really think is important is clouded because you're just responding to everything you hear. And then number 2 is you're telling people that their contributions are less important than what you have to say. So slow it down and selectively participate. That's the only way to come off as an important participant in the meeting, as well as empowering others to contribute themselves. Why restraining yourself works. If you model restraint, curiosity, and constructive contribution, it's contagious. And meetings can quickly deteriorate into just simple crosstalk unless somebody sets the example of serious contemplation. You want to be the one to encourage debate and exploration of the topics. And another good thing that happens when you can show restraint, you're demonstrating to people that you have self-control, which is a big part of emotional intelligence. And when people see you doing this, not only will they think more of you, but they're going to be less defensive in that meeting setting as well. So even if you're the one running the meeting, be one of the participants. You don't need to be the main participant, even if it's your meeting. It's much better to orchestrate the conversation, not monopolize it. Less is definitely more. Be a bridge builder in meetings. Here's how you get everybody involved. Listen, understand, and then connect the thoughts of others together. Everyone will participate. It might sound something like this. Maria's suggestion ties to something that Jason was talking about just a little bit ago, and then say what it is. And then let others connect the dots on the conversation. What it looks like is summarizing themes only after everybody's had a chance to process what they're hearing. They're sorting through ideas as well. And why does this work? Because when there's a little bit of ambiguity and the answer is just not sitting there right in front of people, they have to think harder. They have to make the connections. It results in better understanding. If you synthesize what's being said too early, you can take that opportunity away, and they'll just be spoon-fed the information. Robert Bjork is a cognitive psychologist, UCLA. In the 1990s, he introduced an idea called desirable difficulty. In essence, desirable difficulty is when there's a challenge put on the group in a discussion that actually slows down the pace of the discussion initially, but results in a much deeper understanding at the end. And people retain the information longer. Another term to keep in mind is strategic silence. What that looks like is instead of a fast-paced cadence of a discussion, slow it down, put pauses in, and stretch that out a little, which is not easy to do. It can be uncomfortable. But what happens when you jump in and you don't let others think through things and contribute, you get a very narrow discussion. Those are the heart of the worst meetings that we sit in, boring. But if you slow it down, put some pauses in there and stretch it out, you're going to get more contribution. More people have the opportunity to chime in, if nothing else. By the way, this is a negotiation technique too. If you can put up with that silence, people usually give more. Then summarize what you're hearing for the group. What I'm hearing is about 3 themes that are coming out and what you guys are saying, and then name them. And at the end, wrap it up with an action. Let's focus on this theme. Bob, can your team take that? In other words, a great meeting facilitator knows how to withhold help, but it's creating better conditions for long-term growth. So be the maestro, be the conductor, be that bridge builder in the meeting. You challenge people without undermining them. What this looks like is when people are agreeing with each other too soon, you want to step in and throw out some kind of thought-provoking question. What's a counter argument here? What if we had to do the opposite? And why this works is it prevents groupthink. It's a better way to facilitate critical thinking. And this is much better than just spending your time answering the routine questions. A lot of times we think we're learning when we're just reviewing information. But learning is more complete when we have to recall information. We have to make connections. A good example of this is if you're studying something and you're just rereading notes, it's not as effective as if you could put that information into a flashcard format. The flashcard being you have one piece of information on one side and the answer on the other. You can't see the answer. You have to think about it. And what your brain is doing is it's making connections, recalling information and making sense of it, which is much better than just reviewing the information placed in front of you. So you want to do the verbal version of that. You want to do a verbal version of flashcards. You want to selectively present information. And our minds actually get stronger when we do this. It's like an exercise. So challenge is good when you use it to make people think. Where you sit in a meeting matters. Or in a virtual environment, being on camera and how you look on camera, same thing. If you're in a room and you go to the back or a corner, or if it's a circular table, if you're just off to the side, you're going to be perceived as less influential. You're going to appear non-interested. And something to think about is, who are the decision makers in that room? Can they even see you? Which is another reason why when you're remote, you absolutely have to be on camera. How do people gauge your commitment? Eye contact you make? The posture that you have? What kind of posture do you need in a meeting? You want to lean in. But if you're off to the side, off to the back, off camera, you're going to be quickly forgotten. And people who do that are not the ones that are considered for more responsibility in the future. So if you want to be one of those people that wants more responsibility in the future, where you sit and how you look both matter. Can you over-participate in a meeting? Yes. Answer reflex. Leaders and subject matter experts can a lot of times feel the need to fill silence. Say something. Answer the most routine question. This is the routine question trap. When you jump in on all these low-level routine questions by giving a low-level routine answer, what you're doing is you're diluting your influence on the conversation. Save your contribution for comments that really provide a lot of insight, show that you've synthesized information, and make your comments really forward-looking, especially if you're a leader. You got to let others handle the routine questions. And remember, if you don't know the answer and there's a pause, that's good for the group because that's going to cause the whole group to think, to recall, try to make those connections to get that answer out there. It doesn't need to be you. When they do that, say they come out with those answers, that creates a little bit of a sense of ownership. In fact, that's a good way to think of a reason not to answer all these routine questions, is give that ownership to others. And that temporary discomfort, again, it's good for learning. So remember, don't pounce on the conversation. Let others provide answers to the bulk of the questions, definitely the routine ones. You don't even need to be a leader to follow that, but give the bulk of the conversation back to the group and don't over-participate. A pretty basic communication technique in a conversation when you're asked a question, instead of giving an answer, to ask, how would you do it? That's a good question. How do you see it from your side? Because what you want a lot of times as a leader, you don't need to be the dominant voice. You are the leader. That doesn't mean you need to know everything. You don't need to show everybody how much you know. And when you ask somebody for their input, you're showing them respect. So remember this, ask instead of answering. To wrap up here, the core principle of what we're talking about isn't about reducing the number of meetings. I mean, it's not about making meetings frictionless or easier. You want to introduce the right amount of productive friction to strengthen everybody's thinking and enhance everybody's participation without derailing progress. So to summarize the concepts covered in the video, number one, hold back to build those thinking muscles of others. Don't be afraid to let people struggle a little bit with a question. Desirable difficulty. Number two, think about strategic silence. Silence is good. Don't fill pauses. You're going to have to get used to that. Number three, let others connect the dots. Hold back your synthesis until there's been good discussion. You want the verbal flashcard idea. Number four, challenge without undermining. Constructive friction is good if it's used to help everybody think better. Get rid of the groupthink. Number five, ask instead of answer. Redirect questions. Good point. Can you tell us a little bit more on that? How would you do this? Distribute the ownership. Prevent dependence on just that one voice. Maybe it's yours. If this hit home for you, it's because leadership isn't about just what you do. It's who you decide to be. On this channel, I talk about leadership the way I learned it in the Marine Corps and now continue to learn it in a corporate setting for the last 12 years. But I speak direct in a disciplined way in a mission-focused manner. Nothing extra. So if you're a leader or trying to become one, follow this channel, subscribe, because if you're done with the generic leadership advice, one size fits all, this channel's for you.